The other thing is the UFOs with the Navy, right? The Navy and the Pentagon said UFOs were real, and we don't know what they are.
Well, doesn't that answer the question, though? Really? If you really read that statement, unidentified flying object, and we don't know what they are. Isn't that the same thing?
It's kind of a, yeah, you think.
You just got to be careful how they word this stuff.
Welcome to Podpinions, where the world's on fire, and we show up like it's a backyard barbecue. Politicians roasted, woke trends torched. Common sense, we've got you covered.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Podpinions.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Bruce. We're here for another fun-filled episode of things that we can talk about, and it's like nonstop.
That's amazing. 2 episodes have gone by and we have not done my Dunkin' Donuts rant.
Oh, yes. Well, you just did. Did I say freaking the last time?
No.
I don't think I did.
Not once.
Right.
So we're doing good.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
So we're talking about, in the last episode, about all the pardons that Biden did.
Right.
And there's this whole big thing now about the auto pen, and one of his staffers, or actually several of his staffers, bypassing Biden completely and just going ahead and issuing these pardons, all 8,000 of them.
Wow, 8,000.
Yeah, the most ever by a president.
Wow.
Franklin Roosevelt, after we looked it up, was number 2 on the list. But
and that was like days before Trump took office, right?
And the day of.
Right.
The last ones were on January 20th in the morning.
Okay.
Before Trump actually got sworn in.
Right.
So I printed some of them out. The actual executive grant of clemency. This is for James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John T. Owens, and Francis W. Biden. And it says, to all to whom these presents shall come greeting, be it known that this day I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto, and I just read their names, a full and unconditional pardon. Now, here's the good part. For any nonviolent offenses against the United States which they may have committed or taken part in during the periods from January 1st, 2014, through the date of this pardon. In testimony thereof, blah, blah, blah. Auto pen.
Unbelievable.
Now, here we go. Robert Hunter Biden. Notice this signature. I don't know. We'll have to put that up, the signatures, just so you can tell the difference. This is his actual signature here.
Okay. That
evidently is the only one that he actually signed himself.
Oh, no kidding.
According to what I read.
I thought that was Hunter.
This is Hunter.
Oh,
Biden.
that is Hunter.
This is Hunter Biden. So this one says to executive grant of clemency, be it known, blah, 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 Robert Hunter Biden, a full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part of during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted, including any that have resulted in convictions by Special Counsel David Weiss in docket number, and then give the docket number, United States District Court for the District of Delaware, and docket number, yada, 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 in the United States District Court for the Criminal District of California. So that's the only one he actually signed. So if you want to check these out, go to www.justice.gov/pardon, and it's got every president going back all the way.
Okay.
And it shows you can actually print these out, see what they are. Now, the cool ones, well, those aren't cool. None of them are cool. Anthony Fauci, auto pen. Now, this one says, a full and unconditional pardon for any offenses against the United States which he may have committed or taken part of during the period from January 1st, 2014 through the date of this pardon arising from or in any manner related to his service as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, as a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force or the White House COVID-19 Response Team, or as chief medical advisor to the president. So now my question being, with all of these, right, this is Mark Milley, pretty much the same verbiage. And then we get to, this one cracks me up. The members of Congress who served on the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol, Select Committee, the staff of the Select Committee, as provided by the House Resolution 503, 117th Congress, and the police officers from the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department or the U.S. Capitol Police who testified before the Select Committee, a full and unconditional pardon for any offenses against the United States which they may have committed or taken part in arising from or in any manner related to the activities or subject matter to the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. Autopen. Now, going into this, the members of Congress, there's this laundry list of people, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it blows me away. Absolutely blows me away. But my question is, they were never indicted. They were never accused of anything. Mm-hmm. So why are they getting a pardon?
Blanket pardon, not authorized by the sitting president
Correct.
of the United States.
Other than
this Hunter
one.
Biden, that he actually signed himself.
The rest are all autopens.
Member of his staff authorized the use of the autopen to do the pardons. So it'd be interesting also, because it was prisoners and
all kinds of stuff. I mean, we're talking about, from what it was too much to print out. I mean, 8,000 of them.
Right.
So,
but
he was letting people out that were convicted drug lords.
Right. But I imagine they've been released, right?
Yeah.
Or their sentences overturned, commuted. So that brings into question, too, not just the top members of the cabinet or the J6 committee, but also these people that have been in the prisons, if this is actual.
Yeah, so now what
legal.
happens if all this stuff is like not going to happen? I mean, or if the autopen was not authorized by him and he wasn't there and didn't know about it, what happens to all these criminals that got out?
Right.
Do they have to go round them up and put them back in jail?
Right. That's a very good question.
Now Rand Paul is on the warpath because he's saying that the autopen thing with Fauci is all nonsense. So he's going after Fauci again.
Right. But, and we got to keep focus on all of them, not just
one or
the
two.
top
Correct.
officials that you have a grind against.
Again, there we go with that official. The officials.
The officials.
Who are they?
The experts.
Right. It's just, he fled on foot.
I'm glad I'm not an expert. I just give Podpinions. That's all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So this whole thing with the autopen is just getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yep.
And as you can see, and we'll put this up, because you can actually see the difference between the autopen and his actual signature.
Right. Yeah, it's much thicker, and it's a very...
well, the real signature is really, really messed up.
Right. So, I guess being this happened the last day, and within days of the end of his presidency, then what happened the whole 4 years of his presidency?
I was going through all of it. Again, go to justice.gov/pardons.
It makes you wonder some of the laws that were signed that maybe he didn't have a camera on, where
he actually didn't sign it
by an autopen. That'd be very interesting as well.
So this whole thing keeps unraveling more and more. So now Trump accused him of treason, and you just saw something Tulsi Gabbard and other.
Yeah, she's going to release more information that supposedly is going to basically put the nail in the coffin for Obama's reply to Trump's comments at the press conference. So she came after Obama put his statement out that she's going to release more documents, and there's going to be no questions.
Now, my question is, we discussed this earlier, is remember going back, Trump with the birth certificate thing.
Right.
Is that going to come into play again?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
And let's just say, hypothetically, this is all true, what Trump is saying. So what happens to all the laws and bills that Obama signed?
No, it's a mess.
Is that all null and void?
Can you even imagine?
What happens
if
even the stuff like this?
Right.
All these 8,000 pardons, right? Well, 7,999 were auto pen. One was his real signature.
Right. And Biden had put all those executive orders out a couple days he was first in office,
cranking them out.
Were any of those auto penned?
Who knows? We'll have to look into
that. And did he
too.
authorize them? So it's a mess.
But what happens to that? Does that just go away?
Well, I can't imagine if you're not. Well,
I'm just throwing these questions out there.
Yeah.
Something to ponder.
It's all going to depend whether he was, if for some reason the birth certificate comes back up, and hypothetically, if it's true that he wasn't
born here,
that would just blow everything apart, because then you have somebody that's not legally able to run for president that was president.
And then what?
Right. So, we'll get to that.
8 years of, do-over.
Right. So that's well, I guess we'll cross that bridge if it comes.
Because it's not, I haven't read anything in the Constitution about that. How do they fix that?
Yeah, I don't believe there was any probably forethought about that.
I don't think Thomas Jefferson was.
They did put in the the parameters of being a person that's able to be elected, but I would assume that the person would be vetted prior.
You would think
to being elected. So it's going to be. Get your tinfoil hats out, and we'll sit and wait and see what happens. I threw mine away after this Tulsi Gabbard thing. I don't need it anymore. All the conspiracy theories, as far as I know, are coming out in the open. So it's just mind numbing. It doesn't stop. No, right. But
I can't keep up.
If you really look at what's happened, progressed over the last 25 years. We've seen how the country's changed.
Oh, huge change.
And not all for the better. It's if you just step back, and for those, that weren't born in that period of time, obviously they can't see it, but just go back 25 years and read the articles, read the different things. This compared to even
Watergate.
Nixon. Yeah.
Nixon was a Boy Scout compared to this stuff.
This is unbelievable. And it was done right under everybody's nose.
Well, let's think about this. Nixon, he had Watergate. Okay, so oops. But compared to this,
yeah. Well,
but the difference being, the press was against Nixon, and they were, raking him through the coals.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Obama, he was the
same
savior.
thing with Reagan with the Contra,
correct,
Iran Contra, if they had treated all these allegations and actually investigated them like they should have, I don't think we would be in this predicament that now what do we do? All these questions of what's legal, what happened, and they sure did a number on making the whole country just look over here, look at the little rabbit over here dancing around while they're stuffing the cash in their and power in their back pocket over here. So
you mean like Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just
like
look at
Schumer?
Just look at the history of these people and how long they've been in office, and that's one of the reasons we need term limits. So
here's my problem with term limits, and you know what they are. So I'd say 98. I'm throwing this. I'm making a number up, but let's say 98% of American people would like term limits in the Congress. However, the only way that's going to happen is either A, the Congress has to vote for it and pass a bill. Actually, it'd be a constitutional amendment, and then it has to go to all the states to ratify it. It's never going to happen.
Well, if this is just the tip of the iceberg and we learn so much more, which, like I said, 6 months he's been in, we got 3.5 years of
left
documents and finding out stuff. If you have the majority of the people doing something illegal it's not within the frame of the Constitution, I mean, it's going to be a little easier for the country to come together and say this is
But
enough.
Trump is the one who's against the Constitution.
Oh, that's right.
He's wrecking democracy.
I forgot. Yes, wrecking democracy. That's, yeah.
He's taking democracy away.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Meanwhile, here you got a president of the United States.
Well, you've got an aide, or a administration official.
Obama.
Right? No, I know Obama, but I'm saying just with these pardons, you have somebody that's not even the president. That if everything, just say Biden was elected, that the people voted for this gentleman to be in office, then you're bypassing everybody in the country who put that person in office by going ahead and authorizing this without the president's knowledge. I don't know how much bigger you can get than stuff like that. I just don't know. And if it doesn't wake people up, and I keep going back, this is not just federal.
No, it's state.
It's going to be state.
Local.
It's local. Who's chums with who's getting the contracts, it's got its tentacles everywhere. And even non-governmental groups,
your local
HOAs, for instance, just this power and, I'm in charge and you're going to do what I say. That's not how it was all framed out.
Not at all.
So it's going to be very interesting what happens. And we are coming up on the 250th anniversary of the country. So I have a feeling there's going to be some examples set that we need to go back to. We need to make America great again. And I think, again, I think it's just the basic framework of the United States, and not necessarily all the little points that were good or bad. It's how the framers of the Constitution envisioned the country, and I think that's what we have to go back to. And we've learned a lot in 249 years, and we can go forward a lot greater than we did before because we have all this history.
I just read this thing. I think it was the History Channel on their website. And they were talking about the framers and our founding fathers. Most of these guys were in their 20s and early 30s.
Yeah. I mean, how did they have that vision? You know? It's amazing how, no, I hear you.
The guy upstairs.
Yep. And just to be able to not only write a document to go forward, but to try and cover everything as simple as possible in that document. I mean, this document's not very long.
Wouldn't you have loved to have been like a fly on the wall?
Oh, yeah.
To hear the fighting and the yelling and the screaming and the getting along part, too.
Right.
I'm sure there was some pretty heated moments when they were drafting all this stuff.
I'm sure. Because, and again, just the simplicity of the document, but it covers so much. It's really I don't even know that AI could put something like that out.
I would hope not.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure it could, but I hope
well, maybe
not.
eventually in 20 years, but to be able to, well, they were all going from experience too, of where they came from and what they've experienced before, and again, they're the young people, so they had to have gotten taught or had explanation of how things were, and to start fresh and give a new country a chance. It's pretty amazing. It really is. And there's no reason to be ashamed to be an American for where we've come from.
Unless you're AOC or that whack job that's running for mayor.
Yeah. But again, they're looking for power. They want to use your tax dollars. And just even that. Just look what happened in 1913 with the Fed and the creation of that non-government agency.
Now, was that a rumor that you heard today?
No, I mean, if you look back at what happened.
No, I'm talking about the guy getting canned.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, you mean resigning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a rumor?
That was a rumor.
We had heard a rumor today that the head of the Fed resigned.
Yeah. But that was debunked.
Okay.
So.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, I think the writing's on the wall one way or the other, but.
Things have got to change. Now, we're talking about, in the last episode, about how this illegal alien issue is all about votes.
Mm-hmm.
So it came out, it was a resurfaced video, appears to show Democratic Representative Yvette Clarke from New York claiming she needs more immigrants in her district for redistricting purposes. So it went on, and it's from a 2021 House Foreign Affairs Committee briefing, and she started with, the local Haitian community in Brooklyn could absorb a significant number of these migrants. When I hear my colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district just for redistricting purposes, and those members could clearly fit here, she said. What does that tell you?
That goes along with the census as well, doesn't it?
Right. So the census, which this is like just wrong, not just counts, they come to your house and they come to your town and they'll ask you how many people live in your house. They don't bother asking you if you're a citizen or not.
Right. It's just a head count.
Correct.
Right. And based on that, they redistrict
all the congressional districts for voting purposes.
And also add or subtract
seats.
Right.
So, like in New York, which is heavily Democratic, They
well, not only Democratic, but it's populated.
correct.
New York City.
Right, New
Yeah.
York City. So like most of New York is red, other than like, well, I'm not sure about Buffalo, but New York City, 5 boroughs, which is like 9 million some odd, or maybe probably even more people now. And so when they, or Los Angeles or what, you know, these huge cities like here in Pennsylvania, it's Philly, Pittsburgh, and Erie. And those 3 cities speak for the rest of the state, which I think is wrong. But this time around, Trump actually won those areas, which is kind of amazing. But that's what that's about. But it came out that they're actually admitting now that that's what it's all about.
Isn't it like, I know I saw some ridiculous number, isn't it like 90% of, say, hunters, like don't vote?
This is amazing to me.
So, you know, we're
gun
talking
owners,
about,
but hunters and gun owners.
but
right?
we're talking about, you know, population, you know, centralized in these cities. But I think the population of the state, if they went out and voted, could overtake it.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter what.
Well, there's a whole big thing in this area because we're relatively rural. I mean, we have Stroudsburg and there's Scranton that way. But for the most part, it's kind of rural. And I don't know how many people I know, you know, active hunters that aren't even registered to vote.
Yeah.
And then they bitch and moan, and I look at them and say, well, you have no right to say anything because you don't vote.
Right.
So shut up.
Right. And the biggest thing that I've ever heard, and whether they're hunters or whoever, it just doesn't vote. Well, my vote doesn't matter anyway.
Well, yeah, it does.
It does. So all this stuff coming out, just imagine if we had 90% of the population voting instead of whatever it's 40% or whatever it is, 35.
Well, look, I mean, even just look at the this last election for the primaries. How many people showed up? Hardly any.
Right. So you really have to. I keep saying, you know, I don't like politics. I don't get into politics. Well, it's getting into your life really deep. So you better start paying attention here.
Now,
and it's a one day.
Yeah, it's one day.
Register independent so you don't get the mailings and all that stuff. That's fine. But just go vote.
Now, what's interesting is in response to all this with this woman, right? What was his name? Oh, Chip Roy from Texas. He's a congressman. He just put in a bill for the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. And what that does, it would require people to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship in order to vote.
That works for me.
What a concept.
Yeah, imagine that. I think that's how it was.
Because there's actually, I forget where it is. I think it was in New York, where they were allowing illegal aliens to vote in local elections, not federal, but local elections. What is wrong with this picture?
Right. If your candidate for president, we'll say, of the United States, the rules are he has to be or she has to be an American citizen.
Correct.
Then I think American citizens.
Well, no, they have to be born here.
Well, right.
Because you can become an American citizen.
Right. Well, you have to be an American, quote
natural,
unquote. Right.
Not naturalized.
Right. Natural.
A naturally born citizen.
So then I believe that only natural born citizens should be able to vote for that person.
Exactly.
I don't.
We can't go vote in Mexico.
No.
I can't go to France and vote.
Right. That's true.
I can't even go to England and vote.
That's true. So why are they allowing or possibly allowing people that are here illegally to be able to vote?
I believe that's called a rhetorical question.
It is.
But it's
And then speaking of illegal aliens, we were talking earlier about with the border being closed and ICE cracking down on the illegal aliens in different areas, somebody decided that they would create an app.
This was good. This was good. I love this.
So if you've ever used, have you ever used Waze, that map?
And then we have another one that we use in the family. It's called Life 360. So everybody's got like a little icon thing, and you can see exactly where they are at any given time.
Right.
And if you're in your car, you can actually watch the person driving on the map. And it's kind of cool.
Right.
It's creepy at the same time.
Yeah. So, Waze, you'd be driving down and giving you directions, but it also, if there's a broken down vehicle or if
It'll
there's
tell you all that stuff, right?
Cops sitting somewhere, or, it alerts you to things coming forward, and then it does ask you, is it still there? Like, if there's a car broken down there, it'll ask, is it still there? You can hit yes or no. So somebody decided they would create an app that was crowdsourced, what they call. In other words, people that were using it could put a pin any place that there were ICE agents.
Nice.
So, so what happened was Caroline Feinstein, a forensic accountant at the DOJ's office of the U.S. Trustee in Austin, she was there about nearly a decade, was terminated via email last Friday after it came to light that her husband, Joshua Aaron, founded the controversial ICE Block app. The app that users, that has the app, can identify where ICE agents are, and they can update it in real time, alerting. It actually sent out alerts.
Oh, nice.
To the people that were on the app.
They should go to jail.
Yeah. So she was let go because her
with
husband.
With her pension?
I don't know that. Just as it was
terminated.
terminated.
If she was only there 10 years, probably not.
Well, it was just shy of 10 years, so she wasn't there a decade.
So probably not enough.
But it depends. I guess it depends on her service in other areas. But so the DOJ claims it had been investigating Feinstein's relationship with ICE Block for several weeks, including her status as a minority shareholder in All UChart Inc., which holds the app's intellectual property.
So did they shut the app down, or you don't know?
I believe they did, yeah.
Good.
I believe they did. Her termination notice specifically cited a lack of candor during an internal inquiry as part of the reason for her dismissal. So, within our own government, you have people working against the will of the people because the border closings and...
No, the border's not. It was never open.
Oh, that's right.
Didn't you hear that? It was never open.
I forgot. That's part of the democracy that Trump is against, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The border was never open. Didn't you hear the talking heads about that?
Yes, I remember that now. Vaguely, but I do remember that. So, but that was a very that was high on the list.
That's really good.
About the border, the illegal crossings, illegal aliens being in the country, getting all this tax dollars, and you have somebody within our government, going against it, and creating these apps. Her husband created it, but she was a large shareholder in it. That's going against the will of the people.
Unbelievable. And the Constitution.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Wow. It only gets better. It does. It just every day it's like, oh, that's cool.
Well, at least all this stuff's coming out now.
Right.
I mean, before it was always the whispers and the conspiracy theorists that
you and me
thought was
and all our friends
thought there's nothing going on. You're making it all up. Or
I have to admit, you have told me things, and I just looked at you and was like, yeah, right. And it turns out he was right.
Yeah. I'm like, just wait.
It's like,
It's
Bruce,
going to happen. This is going to happen.
You're
This is
out
going
of
to
your
happen.
mind, Bruce. You're crazy. Yeah. This is bullshit. I don't know where you're getting this from, but just stop it. And it turns out he was right.
Yeah.
So I apologize.
Yeah, that's all good. It's all good. I told you, and you said, okay, I'll wait and see. You know, you were fair. You open-minded.
I am.
Yeah.
But this is now it's going so fast that like you can't even keep up.
Yeah. It is.
It's especially with Trump saying Obama
Right.
is guilty of treason. That's just wow.
And even the legacy mainstream media is not.
They're kind of
quiet.
Yeah.
I think
the
the biggest thing. Yeah, the biggest thing they're putting out is Obama's comment. Against it. But and then Tulsi come on about an hour after and said, "Yeah, wait till tomorrow."
Unbelievable. It just doesn't stop. And then the U.S. Olympic team.
Oh, that's right.
This one's good if you haven't heard this one. So everybody knows about the trannies in women's sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guys in women's sports. Well, the U.S. Olympic team came out and they're going to comply with Trump's Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports executive order. So they are the Olympic team and the Paralympic Committee, USOPC, updated its policies to suggest it will comply with President Trump's Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports executive order, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about it's really about a safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually started with women's fencing. So, we all know about Riley Gaines with the swimming and whatnot, but the safety issue started in women's fencing.
Okay.
Because they had guys dressed in drag, fencing against women, and these women had no chance.
Right.
And they were getting hurt.
Right. Well, yeah, and I'm for it 100%. So.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't understand the mentality and logic. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I understand what they were going for, as far as distractions and, to me, my Podpinion, it's like the whole movement is really, it's almost like they when from women being able to vote, the feminist movement, it's almost like this is to erase all that, in my opinion. It's to put men in these positions to make women shown as the weaker sex and eventually kind of erase anything that women have
worked
fought
so
for.
hard for and fought for.
Right. And just this alone is just kind of erasing all that. I don't know if anybody realizes it, but that's what it's doing.
But just from a safety standpoint, it's common sense. You're not going to have some 400-pound guy, I'm exaggerating, writer's embellishment, but some 400-pound guy up against some woman who's 130 pounds.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, but they were pushing it, and people were buying into it. That's the problem. People were buying into this, and that's what everybody was yelling. Is like, where's all the women's rights? Where are they?
Yeah, where are the Helen Gurley Browns?
It's unbelievable.
Gloria Steinem.
Because eventually, you're not going to have any women in the sport because
it's going to be all guys.
It's going to be all guys. So where's the outrage? There was none.
Zero.
It's like
absolute zero outrage.
What happened? What are you
and
thinking?
I'm the bad guy. I was actually called names because I thought this was messed up.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I was going to use the F word, but I figured, no, I'm not going to do that.
Frickin'?
Yeah, no, the other one. But you know what I mean? It's just, and I have gay friends that are very close to me. I have 2 tranny friends.
Right.
I have no problem. Right. That's their life. But don't go into.
Don't try to overpower something that is obviously, again,
it's a safety issue.
Well, I think it's just to confuse people and keep everybody off balance, to issue in more power. That's what I think it is. It's just, look over here, the cute little rabbit. Well, I'm stuffing the, power and money in my back pocket. And everybody's fighting. You got everybody fighting amongst themselves. And, they're issuing freaking pardons for hiccuping.
You just said.
I know.
He said for
for sneezing with an auto pad.
Well, now here's my question about this Olympic thing: is the U.S. Olympic team and the committee, the Olympic Committee, they're going along with this. Mm. However, what's going to happen with the Olympic teams from France, Italy, Germany,
we'll have to see.
Russia?
Right.
Are they going to go now? And the Olympics the next Olympics are going to be here in Los Angeles, I believe. And is the Olympic Committee the U.S. Olympic Committee, are they going to allow transgender athletes to participate?
That's going to be very, very interesting.
I think it's going to be a huge battle.
Yeah. But again, if it's for safety and for all the...
Yeah, just have men's, women's, and have a mixed.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, they use the Special Olympics, right? Mm-hmm. I don't understand what would be the difference of kind of forcing the people in the Special Olympics to force them into competing with somebody in the Standard Olympics versus you don't want to do that, right? It's not fair.
Not at all.
So then why would you want a man...
I don't know. I can't get that answer. That's what I'm looking for.
I don't get it.
I am looking for somebody to explain it to me in a logical way that actually makes sense, and that but it doesn't.
No,
none of it makes sense.
No, it doesn't. If you want it, if you want that category, that's fine. We'll see how many
people that support that also call illegal aliens migrants.
Right. That's true.
I saw a thing this morning. I think it was this morning. Some woman on the news, they were interviewing a bunch of people, and they were screaming and yelling about, we're not going to have any farm workers now. We're not going to have anybody to cut my lawn.
I mean, how bad? Just step back and just take yourself and just relax and just think about those statements.
It's crazy.
And how absolutely wrong that is to categorize somebody and use them because they're here illegally and take advantage of them.
But they don't look at it that way.
I know they don't look at it that way.
Because they're narcissistic bastards.
Right. And they have no common sense and they have no feelings and they're just driven by power and money. That's it. That's all they have. But I think the days of that is coming to a close.
I sure hope so.
And I don't think it's going to be just federal. I think it's going to be state. It's going to be local. And, even once all this stuff comes out, it's going to open everybody's eyes to everybody, even people that are close to you or neighbors or something that's just been getting away with something forever. I think people are going to start saying, hey, this has got to stop. This is not right. So whether it's your town, whether it's your HOA, whether it's, just somebody that just isn't playing by the rules for everybody as a community, I think it's going to bring light to everything. So we'll see what happens, but
I'm keeping my fingers
I'm
crossed.
hopeful.
Yeah, I am too.
A lot more hopeful than I was 10 years ago.
Absolutely. So now we've been doing this segment. Well, actually, we did a whole episode on what happened to, right? So you see videos about what happened to, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., and then they'll show you like a progression. I mean, the guy's dead now, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll find like an old actor, and they look completely different now. Well, we've been doing something. What happened to these news stories that just disappeared and went poof? So, what happened to the cocaine that they found in the White House?
That's right. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Found a bag of cocaine in the White House.
It was all over the news.
It was all over the news for like 2 days, 3 days, whatever it was, a week.
Yeah.
And then it just died.
Yeah.
The whole story just went away. I mean, everybody knows it probably belonged to Hunter Biden, but no investigation, no nothing.
Or was it to assume it looked like it belonged to Hunter Biden? Well, because he was a known
drug addict.
You know what I mean? So, did they say anything about where it went or what's happened?
Who's got it?
Right.
Whose nose did it go up?
Right. And again, before Bongino became assistant FBI director, I mean, that was one of the things he talked about. On the podcast.
Well, I'm surprised he hasn't.
Yeah, and maybe it is. I don't know. But there's so much going on. It's like,
yeah, who knows? It might be.
But just his analogy of it's in a baggie. So there's got to be some kind of fingerprints or DNA or something on there. Whether it's even on the inside of the baggie. You watch these
forensic cop shows,
right? And the stuff, a hair follicle or something out of the carpet of the car,
fingernail on a wood chipper. Remember that? The movie Fargo.
The even the type of soil.
Oh yeah, right.
That's in the carpet in the vehicle. If they could tell where it came from, so
don't go anywhere.
Just to say that we don't know.
Yeah,
we can't tell. These are supposed to be the agencies that are supposed to be the best trained,
right?
The most knowledge, the best database. I don't know.
So that's one of them. Another one is nobody seems to remember the Ukrainian passenger flight that was shot down by the Iranian government.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. Nothing.
Just completely gone.
Yeah.
Then there was, starting last summer, unidentified snipers taking out random cars on different parts of Route 10 in New Orleans.
I don't even remember hearing about that.
It was out there for like a day or two, and then poof, gone.
It was just gone.
I think they didn't want to create like mass panic.
What was that in D.C.?
No,
the sniper?
That was a different one.
No, I know, but that was
that was in D.C.
That was all over the place where he was hiding in the trunk, and he had a little keyhole or something that he would flip open and
start shooting people.
Yep.
So this was. They're thinking it might be gang and drug violence kind of stuff, but
nobody knows.
No, but where'd the story go? Gone.
You would think that somebody who wants to be an investigative reporter would investigate this, and maybe they have, and just that the news agencies just push it away.
Yeah, but why?
They got to put in.
There's got to be a reason why they're not covering that.
Well, the bigger story is Trump is against our democracy, so I guess that's a bigger story.
Now, there was also all that COVID relief money that was given to companies for certain things, right? And it was misappropriated, and it has never been paid back.
That's going to come out.
You think so?
That's going to come out. And it's going to come out because not only was there a payment from the initial payment, but then afterward they came out with another. You put in your taxes, I believe, and then you got an additional funding. So anybody that's taking that funding that they shouldn't have, it's probably going to be pretty interesting.
Bite them in the butt?
I think so. I
hope so.
Yeah.
It's just But that story just went away.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
And then we have Equifax. I don't know if you remember this one. Lost personnel data of almost every single adult in the United States.
I do remember that.
Do you remember this?
I do.
Okay, so the data we didn't give them permission to access, they did anyhow.
Right.
Right? And they just automatically collected it all. And they're still in business. Why?
And we're worried about TikTok.
Yeah, right. And here it is in our own country. So this started in September of 2017. And there was this huge data breach that they announced. And then the whole story just went away.
Just went away. Unbelievable. And they're still in business.
It's 70% of the population of the United States' data was lost. Where'd it go?
Then they were complaining about Elon Musk having
Right.
access.
This is insanity.
Right.
And then the story just went away.
Right. Now,
And-
why is this not, like, to this day, not headlining every nightly news station?
It's beyond me.
Yeah.
Why isn't Congress investigating that?
Right.
Why aren't they having hearings about that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean,
All
who
good
made,
questions.
Who made that story just disappear?
Right.
Right?
Somebody did. 70% of the population.
Absolutely.
What are they saying? It's 370 million?
Well,
40 million?
If you don't count the illegals.
Right. So that's 70% of that's a good chunk.
That's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing is the UFOs with the
Mhm.
Navy, right? The Navy and the Pentagon said UFOs were real, and we don't know what they are.
Well, doesn't that answer the question, though? Really? If you really read that statement, unidentified flying object, and we don't know what they are. Isn't that the same thing?
It's kind of a, yeah, you think.
Just got to be careful how they word this stuff.
But, so they, you got me on that one.
I think it was it might have been just push it out to the public, see what they do. Because it says the same thing. An unidentified flying object that we don't know what it is.
So they're not saying that it's aliens.
Right.
They're just saying they don't know what it is.
Right.
But yet,
It's unidentified.
now here's another question I have, right, with all this stuff. And this story just went away. I remember that? When was it? The beginning of last year.
Yeah.
They came out and said, oh, UFOs are real,
Right.
blah, 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 and then nothing.
Right. Well, they had the Miami incident, and then they had the drones, and
But still, nothing was said after
Right.
that. It just disappeared.
that's why I'm telling you, this is what I thought years ago. Is they were, and then the pandemic.
It's all big test.
It's, to me, my Podpinion, it's a test to see. My theory was, conspiracy theory, was that the next pandemic that Fauci said and everybody said that we're going to have another pandemic was going to be from an alien invasion. And it was
Right.
going to be an alien virus, not a bat.
So you think that's what this is?
And I think they're testing the public, possibly,
To see if people will
to
buy
see
it?
and what they have to do to sell it to everybody. That's the only explanation that I can come
Well,
up
there
with.
has to be other beings out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There has to be.
Absolutely. Why would they come here? I don't know, but
So
they could probably join an Olympic team in or sport, something.
wouldn't you think, though, that, well, the whole Area 51 thing,
Mhm.
right? Somebody would have leaked some photos.
You would think.
And even with this, the videos that they did show were so grainy. And I mean, we are in the 21st century, and these military planes have unbelievable, like, cameras and stuff, right? So you mean to tell me they can't get a decent picture of these things?
Yeah, you would think. I don't know.
Same
It's
thing with
like-
Bigfoot. It's
Right.
all these grainy
Yeah.
stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
come on.
Right. Loch Ness
With-
Monster, where did that go?
Well, no, just go back to Bigfoot. You think all these hunters have game cameras
Yeah,
that are like
right.
20 pixels now,
Yeah,
megapixels,
yeah.
and all this stuff, right? It goes right
Pops up right on their phone.
Exactly. I have one.
Yeah.
You know, so you would think that
Somebody
would
somewhere.
have a picture that's like halfway decent. It's like, how stupid is the American
See
public?
Bigfoot like
Yeah, do
on
they
the
think
camera.
we're that stupid?
yeah. Look what's happened.
True. Yeah. And then we're going to leave it on this one.
Okay.
This one's like this one's so far out it's never coming back. Do you remember, and this was a huge story, people were attacking other people and then eating them like they were zombies.
Right.
They were, right?
Yes.
12 hours later, nothing. The story was there. They showed these people getting arrested, and then the story just disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're having like people eating
Right.
people,
Right.
killing them,
Yeah.
eating them, like they're zombies,
Yeah.
and then the story
And
just
then
goes away.
goes away. Yeah.
What is wrong with this
Right.
planet?
Well, so for the next one, we got to look up the
zombie eating people?
guy that it was in PA with the collar.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up. He they found him in the park or something. He was all upset. He said somebody had put the collar on him and forced him to go rob the bank. And
Yep. I remember that. And that story just
I
went
think
away.
somebody did get charged or something happened, a family member or something. But we'll have to look into that. But that was another one that was like all over the place.
There was another one. I just heard about it on the news this morning. This one's and it just went away in a day, not even a day. So a guy's wife was getting an MRI. He was wearing a 20-pound chain around his neck with a medallion. The MRI tech let him into the room while she's getting an MRI. Guess what happened? The machine sucked him in,
Right.
and he had like 3 or 4 heart attacks
Wow.
and died.
Wow.
But the story just poof gone.
Right. Jeez. Well, that's definitely some liability there.
You think?
It's unbelievable.
But the story disappeared.
Yeah.
Check it out. Guy
Yeah.
wearing 20 pounds of chain around his neck with a medallion, and his wife was having an MRI, and she was evidently freaking out, so he was going to go in to, calm her down. And the tech let him in, and the machine it's a
Right.
big magnet, so
Right.
just sucked him right into the machine, and he had a heart
But
attack.
there's like, and that gets back to just paying attention to your surroundings, and there's signs
Yeah.
all over the place by
No
the
metal.
MRIs.
No metal.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of pay attention. I just saw, it just kind of popped in my mind. I saw a video of a guy, I don't even remember where it was. It wasn't in this country. There was a shark that beached itself or got stranded, and he was pulling the shark out.
He was
and
trying to help it.
He was trying to help it, get it back in. He turned it around, got it straight. What did it do? It freaking attacked him, and he died.
It did what?
It attacked him.
It did what?
It attacked him.
He
Kinda
said
what-
it again.
What?
Freaking.
Did I?
It freaking attacked him. That's what you said.
Oh, okay. I'd see.
I've been busting his chops.
I didn't
about
even realize that.
That's what I
but-
do to your nephew.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
I seen it,
I
Bob.
seen it. We're working on shirts. I seen it.
That's Bobby, his
Yeah.
nephew. He was 4 foot
So-
tall. Come up out of the woods.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So,
On that note,
so get
what do you
to
say we wrap it up?
Another night, another
day.
eventful podcast of things we just can't keep up with.
We'll see you next
All
time.
right, have a good one. See you next time.
Slam the follow button. This is Podpinions.